is Disney really moving towards cancelling their deal with the BBC for Doctor Who? What will happen if they do? And is actually Russell T Davies shooting himself in the foot with the writers they've brought on for season 2? Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast, part of the scitrek family.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
I was really confused when this first announcement came out, and I'm still not 100% certain I understand it now. But basically, the writers for season 2, the people that were brought on board to help write season 2, were announced today. And one of them was announced as, look at this person joining for season 2. I was confused because season 2 wrapped in May last year, 2024. They finished filming it. They're now in post-production. It's supposed to be coming out in the next few months. So I think what they're saying is, here are the writers. Oh, look, aren't they brilliant? And this is just a bit of a fanfare, and it's just the way it's been. But I'll tell you what, go look at a couple of stories on this today. That's not how it reads. But anyway, the writers have been announced. Now, I told you guys that Disney were very unhappy with season 1 of Doctor Who with Shutigawa. Now, I've been actually told that executives over at Disney have done what executives do. And when they were seeing the early things for season 1, you know, like the early videos and the early cuts and things, they were all like, this is brilliant, it's just what we wanted, I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And then the actual reviews came out when season 1 dropped, and they turned. And they started going, this is awful, this is the worst thing ever, you need to change everything. Now, I was actually told that Disney are trying to put pressure on BBC and Bad Wolf to actually fire Russell T Davies. They don't want him as showrunner. They'd already put pressure on him and BBC and Bad Wolf to bring in other writers. I told you guys that ages ago, before this was announced. And these are those writers that were brought in to help Russell T Davies, but also widen the interest of the show, sort of thing. Make it more interesting for a wider audience wholly. I actually genuinely think the writing so far, what we've seen under Russell T Davies, even though he hasn't done all of it, has been pretty poor and very generic and a bit preachy and everything else. And that's been repeated by a lot of people. Now, there are a lot of people that are shouting that this has gone incredibly woke. There's been a lot of transgender issues, etc., raised in Doctor Who, which I have absolutely no issue with. I think it's an important topic. We need to talk about it. We need to normalise these things. But as you know, if you're a regular sci-trekker and you've been watching my videos a while, even though I think sci-fi is the perfect medium to be raising these issues and to be exploring social and political issues in a different way, because you can do it metaphorically, sort of thing. You can, you know, the perfect example is, you know, the black and white dudes from that Star Trek, the original series episode, when you know, they have the guy with black on one side and it's white on the other, and they're black on that side and white on the other, and they end up having a civil war over it. And it's just a very simple, almost childlike way of looking at racism. But it's such a beautiful metaphor. It's actually very powerful. Again, with the original series, just having a Russian on on your crew in the 1960s during the Cold War, subtle. It was never highlighted. They never mentioned. They never sort of went, don't forget Chekhov's Russian, by the way, people. They just did it, and it was a powerful insertion into the story. I don't like it, though, when the agenda and the thing that the writers are trying to say overtakes the story. And I did feel very much like that's what happened with the David Tennant specials with Doctor Who, where Russell T Davies seems to be very clear that he has something to say about transgender and gay rights, etc., which he should, and I applaud him for it, but it overtook the story. So they've hired some new writers. And again, Disney have pushed for this. I don't think the writers that have been chosen are going to make the people that shout woke very happy. One of them, Juno Dawson, is actually a transgendered lady, and she's written many books that really support gay rights, LGBTQ community, and she's called for more books and things to have LGBTQ characters in them, which again, I 100% agree with, but I'm just saying that the people that shout woke at these things are just going to go, oh, for God's sake, here we go again. You've got Inua Ellams, who's a poet, who one of his poets is called Candy Coated Unicorns and Converse All Stars. Again, I can see the wokeness going, I actually think Peter McTighe is somebody that's been in and around Doctor Who for ages, and he's just a really good writer. He's executive produced a couple of episodes and things in the past. And then Sharba Angel Wilfall is a screenwriter. She wrote an episode of Dreamland for Sky. She actually was in the writer's room for Supercell on Netflix. Renegade Nell for Disney Plus, and A Town Called Malice on Sky, Noughts and Crosses on the BBC. She's actually a very, very up and coming screenwriter at the moment. So to get her on Doctor Who again, I think is really impressive. I liked a lot of the things she's worked on. She's only young, but well, she looks like she's about 12. But I think that's really interesting. So where are we at with Doctor Who right now? And what is the risk of Doctor Who actually being cancelled? I'm being told that Disney need to make a decision on extending this 2-year deal. So at the moment they've got 2 years, they pay for these 2 seasons of Doctor Who. There is no confirmation on the third. I'm being told that before Christmas, there were serious conversations about when Doctor Who was going to be moving forwards, and they'd even started to pencil in some dates for the 3rd season. But the negotiations for that contract with Disney stalled at that point. This explains basically why Ncuti Gatwa basically went on Graham Norton's show and said about how they're doing when Series 3's come in, and then they immediately had to do a basically an apology saying, no, it's not. It actually got removed from the episode, but that caused loads of things. I think that was last October. So it was around that time. It was just after, or just as the 1st season was dropping, and people weren't happy. So the people at Disney weren't happy. So the negotiations for the new contract stalled. I was then told that they basically said, right, we're going to look how see the Christmas series does, because the BBC and Bad Wolf were sort of saying back to Disney, look, yeah, we 100% what you're talking about. The 2nd season is going to be different. We're bringing in these other writers and things, and we're going to go in a slightly different direction with it. We completely take on board your concerns. The Christmas special, though, is already sort of going in that direction. It's more traditional Doctor Who, and people are going to love it. And they didn't. Generally speaking, it was unpopular. So that's caused Disney to think even more. I'm being told that if Disney basically pull out of this deal, the BBC will not match the difference. They will not match the budget. So this Doctor Who is going to go back to a smaller budget than it did before. I'm actually being told the BBC is struggling to fund many budgets within their normal sort of TV viewership sort of thing. And there's lots of projects that were greenlit that then they can't get money for. One of the things the BBC execs have basically done is they greenlight a show, and then they say, right, we can give you 1/3 of the money. You now need to go to other providers and find the rest. Basically saying that, look, we'll pay for the 1/3 here, we'll show it in Britain, but you then need to sort of go get a partner with somebody else that'll show it abroad, or streaming partner or whatever, to get the rest of the funds. It's fine if a show can do that, but if they can't, they're just not getting made. The BBC is basically doing that with Doctor Who again. So they will only say, we're going to say maybe pay 1/3 of this. I'm being told again that if the Disney deal collapses, the chances are Doctor Who will be paused, at least for the meantime. They will explore other characters. They will explore maybe their options going further. But the BBC won't step up and won't greenlight the 3rd series on their own. Disney are going to probably wait until the 2nd season, the first few episodes drop, until they make a final decision. And that is going to be soon. Bringing on writers like this, when Disney are trying to get away from being pointed at and yelled at, and having the word woke shouted at them a lot, I'm being told that is something they're actively trying to do. Having another series which really has an agenda around transgender rights and things, a rightful agenda, an agenda I agree with, but if it's forced down our throats, it's not entertaining, we'll put it that way. I would say that Doctor Who isn't a documentary or a news report. It isn't a political project. It's sci-fi. Yes, it should have a moral compass. Yes, you should learn something from it and it should expand your mind. But mainly it's got to be entertaining. Mainly it's got to be Doctor Who. I think what we had in the first season with Ncuti Gatwa wasn't. I actually found it a little cringy in places. It was so bad. But maybe that says more about me than I'd like. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think, though. Having a look at the blurb on some of these writers, are you concerned that that's going to increase some of the stuff that we've seen from the first season rather than make it a more varied storyline? Or do you actually think, no, we want lots of voices in the writer's room, this can only be a good thing? And these are good writers, all of them, all four of them are good, right? They're proper writers. They're not been dragged off the street. They're award-winning writers. So it can't be a bad thing, can it? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can go to patreon.com/scitrek where most of our new videos do premiere first. And you get to see them without the adverts. As always, please stay safe and I'll see you next time.